Well, hello everyone, and welcome back again to Radio Entrepreneurs. And we keep streaming every day stories of entrepreneurship and how people are continuing to do business in this economy and create and maintain jobs and adapt. Our next guest is Ralph Dangelmaier, and he is CEO of BlueSnap, a mobile app pay solution. Is that correct?
Yeah, BlueSnap is a company that helps entrepreneurs get paid using credit cards and other bank transfers. So we're really the payment vehicle for their platforms and products.
So tell me how the whole company came about, how you started it, if you're the founder.
Yeah, so I wasn't really the founder. The company was actually founded over in Israel to help Startup Nation. So probably the most famous entrepreneurs outside of Silicon Valley be able to sell outside of Israel and get paid. I mean, what people don't realize, especially years ago, how difficult it is to do what we call cross-border commerce or cross-border payments. And so that was the genesis of the company. And then about 8 years ago, a bunch of folks from Boston, private equity firms, had the idea that this product could not only be useful for Israeli clients, but be useful for global clients. And they moved the company to Boston. And I came in, it was a relatively small company, and helped scaled it into a fairly global enterprise with thousands of clients all over the world that were helping accept payments for for the businesses.
This is a good story on multiple levels because I'm associated with BGU, Ben Gurion University, and their entrepreneurial group over there.
Oh yeah, we're very close to them, and Tel Aviv University and the Brandeis International Program. I just taught a class there actually in their Entrepreneur and International Business Studies programs.
Interesting. So let's just go back to your background first. Let me get a sense of your background because you said you were brought in to be the CEO. Let's get in that Wayback Machine. Give us some of your experience.
Sure. So I guess I've been doing payments for 30 years. We now call it fintech, and it's now a very hot market. I think you know that it's about second largest investable market in the world, maybe outside of biotech. And fintech wasn't a thing when I came in the late 80s, early 90s. I worked at a bank, and then from there I ended up at a couple of technology companies that sold products into banks that consumers and businesses use their products. So for online banking, those kind of things. And we bought and sold a couple companies. We ended up getting acquired by a very large company called ACI Worldwide, and they authorize about a third of the world's debit and credit transactions. And we got to about 2010 and 11, and it was clear the whole world was moving to online commerce to me. And I was meeting some of these cool companies that you may have heard of called Stripe and Square that nobody heard of back then. And I saw an opportunity to join a group of people who were building a product that was a little different value proposition what they offered. They were very good at doing what we call in-country commerce, and this was really focused on cross-border commerce. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to sort of get back to my entrepreneurial roots and really scale and build a company, and along the way help a bunch of entrepreneurs who maybe didn't have a lot of experience in payments along the way. So we really graduate people from, use your school term, Square and Stripe, in their payments platform. That's really one of the big founding disciplines of the company.
So is this your first Israeli company?
It is actually, yeah. I have to say I was a little nervous when I first joined. I was popping over to Israel for a couple of months, and I think I'm a big advocate for Israel now, and telling people it is an unbelievable place to visit, not just culturally, but also it's kind of like Silicon Valley meets Miami Beach from if you go into Tel Aviv, and it's just got so much going on. People think of it as a religious experience, which of course it is, but I think of it differently now as a technology, an entrepreneurial place, as a culture. And I think of it as also an amazing historical place to go. So I really enjoy going there. I've been there probably 20, 25 times. And I think I've convinced a lot of friends of mine and colleagues to go as well. So it's if you haven't been there, you really should go. I don't hear many people coming back and saying they had a terrible experience in Israel. So it's on the bucket list, Jeffrey.
I don't know anyone who's been there. It doesn't say it hasn't affected or changed their life. And yeah, going to Tel Aviv is not like going to Jerusalem. Tel Aviv really is sort of this technology hub. It's a city on steroids.
Yeah, 70 years they built the city. That's quite amazing. I agree. That's why I keep saying it's Silicon Valley and Miami Beach smashed together. So can't be a more innovative and fun place.
But does that affect, you say this is your first one, did that mean you had to adapt as an entrepreneur for that Israeli culture? Give us a sense of that.
Yeah.
Because they have been so successful over the last 20 years as a country.
They have, and I think we did make a couple adaptations, including myself. So a few things hit me. Is I remember my first meeting over there, and people saying, "Well, geez, this is different in Israel, and it's different and different." And I asked, "Geez, how many people have been to Boston?" And of course, one or two people have been to Boston. I said, we're pretty fast moving. I think we're pretty entrepreneurial, and by the way, we're pretty direct. And so that seemed to meld pretty well with the Israeli culture, fast moving and entrepreneurial and very direct. So we got along a lot better than people thought right out of the gate. I thought that was good. Second thing that we realized made a big difference is everybody wanted to go do a startup. It's kind of like if you didn't do a startup, even if you failed, you kind of weren't, worthy. And what I was really trying to explain was, look, scaling is also really a big deal, and highlighted by me being part of the Entrepreneur of the Year award programs at E&Y. Scaling is also really important, and getting people who had been at startups but also worked at American or European countries that scaled tend to be a very, very good fit for BlueSnap. So that was our sort of, I think, pivot, is you needed to keep the entrepreneurial spirit, but you also had to know how to scale whatever you built. And that combo has become extremely successful for us.
Well, yeah, I think of Israel as an incubator. So it's true. Scaling is important once you get here. Talk to us a little bit about the E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year process and, what that meant to you in the business, if anything.
Yeah, well, it was a great process. I was honored to be a finalist 2 years in a row. I didn't at first think it was me because I didn't found the company, but I've scaled a bunch of companies. And I guess what they were saying is they changed the definition of the entrepreneurs, and not just be able to start things and keep them small. They take small things and make them big or scale them. And so that was a great experience. I met some amazing people and companies. A bunch of them became clients of BlueSnap, which was also a great experience. And I highly recommend going through that because it's a really great experience, and you get to meet a lot of good people. And E&Y takes it very seriously and does an extremely good job running that program.
I know I've had some clients win the award over the years. So tell me, is it a very crowded field you're in, and how do you differentiate from others?
Yeah, I think on the surface, it looks crowded, right? It looks like there's 500 different ways to do payments, and there's all these different providers. But when you really start segmenting the businesses by type, size of business, by where your shoppers are located, by my B2B, B2C, and verticals, it doesn't become crowded. And so where we really differentiate is we're trying to help entrepreneurs scale. We're trying to help entrepreneurs that go cross-border. We're trying to help entrepreneurs who do B2B and B2C. And so when you look at a lot of these platforms that they're on today, they're using either many payment providers and they're not getting what they want, because who wants to connect to many things when you connect to one? So there's extra technical debt, which isn't good for an entrepreneur. And the second thing, or they have a product that they can't scale with. A lot of the products they start with are domestic only in whatever domestic city they've started in, and they just can't scale with it with support or with the reporting that they need. So we've sort of found this niche in the sort of upper SMB, middle market, cross-border, helping people with SaaS or subscriptions, and it's just become a very good business for us.
Very interesting. So if somebody wanted to learn more about the business, how would they find you and the company?
BlueSnap.com. We put everything on our website, and we're pretty open. We also have a huge following of our blogs and social, which is great. And we're trying to teach people about the best practices around payments.
Good. And where are you located? Where are your offices?
So we're headquartered here in Waltham, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, but we have people all around the world. We're all over the United States, Canada, Ireland, UK, Poland, Ukraine, and of course, Israel.
Just a little less traveling right now.
I haven't been traveling that much. I've been to California a few times. It's been perfectly safe. Yeah,
It's hard to get in and out of Israel and in and out of Canada right now.
This morning we just had our Israeli marketing meeting, and they told me I can come to Israel, but I need to quarantine for 14 days. And we're in Herzliya, and there's a beautiful Ritz-Carlton there. So spending 14 days there doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, Jeff.
Well, if you're locked up at Herzliya at the Ritz, that's not a bad deal. But
right.
But Canada's a little bit stricter too. They're actually checking your credit cards in Canada to make sure you never leave your house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm afraid if you left the Ritz of Israel, they'd track you down pretty quickly. I wouldn't want to mess with Israeli security.
No, we've been speaking, with Ralph Dangelmaier from BlueSnap, and we hope we get to speak to you again through the year as things progress. Thank you for being on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Be well.
You too.
This is Radio Entrepreneurs.